Gordon's up next. He says, "Hey guys, your generosity in Hump Days is greatly appreciated as usual. You guys are the best. Thanks, Gordon." He says, "Should I conclude from comments on previous Hump Days that using a Google site for a local lead gen site and hammering it with RSY Drive Stacks, Syndication Networks, and link building from the MGYB store is more likely to get you a page one ranking faster and easier than using a regular new standalone domain for the site? Or am I wrong?" No, you can still use a self-hosted domain. But what we do is, in the way that Marco has been really preaching and teaching, is that we use all of the Google properties as tier one properties to power up the domain, because the domain itself we try to protect the money site, right? If you're going to use a self-hosted domain, which you should if you're running a business, for lead generation and stuff, guys, you don't need it. I don't think you need it. You still can use it if you desire to, but it's not necessary. But if you're doing client work or you're running your own business, I absolutely recommend that you get a branded domain and a self-hosted website. But what we try to do is put a firewall around that site, that domain. And we can use Google properties to do that, and syndication networks and all these things to validate and solidify the entity. We did a MGYB webinar, which we've got another one coming up on June 10th, Monday, June 10th. We're going to be doing another webinar specifically about how to power up Google Sites and Drive Stacks, by the way, how to get the best practices or the best practice uses and the best uses of Google Sites and Drive Stacks. Okay, so that's coming up Monday, June 10th. If you guys want to drop a link for registration for that, that would be great. But we did about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago now, we did a webinar specifically about how to solidify and why syndication networks are more important now than ever. And they're just as powerful as now in a different way than they used to be. But it's all to help validate and solidify an entity. And it's also, again, it's always acted as kind of an SEO firewall. We've been talking about that for years. But now we just use the Google Sites and the Drive Stacks to do the same thing. And as Marco always calls it, it's about being in the belly of the beast. Right. And using those properties as kind of a firewall or a filter. And we can do all of our nasty stuff outside of those, or to those instead of direct to the money site. And it protects our money site. But like I said, if you're running your own business or doing client work, I always recommend that you do have a money site because it's a little bit, it's in my opinion, it's better for branding and all of that. So Marco, what say you?
I would say that since he's talking about local lead gen, and his purpose should be to rank in the map pack. Now, you're going to rank in organic anyway, pretty much with whatever you target locally. But yeah, I mean the Drive Stack plus GSite, the GSite will rank. I mean, Bradley's shown it time and again when looking at Virginia SEO Virginia, and that'll get you leads. But the idea is to push power then from that from your SEO shield. And as Bradley said, from being in the belly of the beast to the GMB, to the map so that you can pop it up in the 3-pack, which is where most of the action is taking place, right? Yeah. And then the more power that you throw at it, the more that'll transfer over to that GMB, the post. So you get action on the post, you get action in the 3-pack, you get all kinds of action. It goes crazy. And I'm glad you mentioned that the June 10th webinar, because I've been talking for a couple of years now about a test that we ran. I couldn't mention the city, and I couldn't mention the niche that we went after. I just said that it was in a highly competitive market, highly competitive niche. Well, on May 10th, I'm going to reveal what the website is. It's still ranking.
June 10th.
I'm sorry, on June 10th, I'm going to reveal what the niche is, what the city is, and you're going to see live that it's ranking #1 still. For the top level, for the market level keyword, it's right there, and the guy's still getting calls to this day, and all from it was the 1 million spam link test. So if you're wondering whether it still works, whether it's still relevant, and whatever, we have people killing it. Either way that you do it, whether, as Bradley recommended, a TLD, where you're establishing your brand and you can go after multiple things through your brand, or whether you just go through the GSite, make that your money site, or you combine it, the GSite with the GMB. There's so many things and so many ways that you can do this to generate revenue from whatever lead gen property you have. But to kind of bring it all back and really nail it down The answer is yes, it is more likely to rank faster and better than a normal TLD would.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I again, I just want to stress that if you're just doing local lead gen stuff, then you don't need a website, not a self-hosted website. I mean, but if you can get away with just GMB stuff, and I certainly recommend a Google site as well as a Drive Stack. That's kind of all part of the process, really. But you can just use like the GMB website, for example, as your primary website, and still use, if you choose. But again, if you're doing client work or you're running your own business, I recommend you still use a self-hosted site.